Hello, I'm Taj, digitally known as Tropic Vibes, the host of Nifty Business, where we highlight NFTs and explore Web 3.0 as we move from pure speculation to creating real-world value. A few years ago, it seemed like Toys R Us was dead. We that grew up as a Toys R Us generation were sad to see the story go. However, they are back. Not only that, but they're also embracing Web 3. And I was really excited to see that Gary Vee's project, VeeFriends, if you're not familiar with that property, I assume you are if you're listening to this, they have partnered with Toys R Us. So today we're going to speak about what that means, the implications for everything as far as the VeeFriends and everything going forward with IP that is being developed in Web 3. But before I get to all of that,
I don't wanna grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid. They got a million toys at Toys R Us that I can play with. I don't wanna grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid. They got the best for so much less. You really flip your lid. From bikes to trains and lots of games. It's the biggest toy store there is. I don't wanna grow up, 'cause maybe if I did, I couldn't be a Toys R Us kid.
I wanna be a Toys R Us kid.
I don't know about you, but that feels so great to hear that song again. Of course, that is the new version that they came out with because if you're not familiar with Toys R Us, they were a standalone store, the biggest toy store, and just probably one of the most amazing places if you were a kid that grew up before the 2000s, and of course with Amazon and everything just killing the vibes over there. But I remember as a kid, although we really couldn't afford to get much, I just loved going there and just the experience of walking through the toy store. So hearing that song again just brought smiles to my face. And if you listen to episode number 326, when I spoke about nostalgia and the power of nostalgia, well, they definitely have this going on with Toys R Us. But of course, let's go back to Web 3 and all the stuff that's happening with this particular project. So Gary Vee is a marketing machine. Honestly, he could probably sell sandbags in the middle of a desert. When he launched his book, 12 and a half, which by the way was an amazing book. If you haven't read it or listened to the audiobook, I highly recommend it. He shattered all sorts of sales records by using NFT sales and using his community and just leveraging everything that he's been doing for the last decade plus. He has an extremely loyal fan base. He has built years of trust with them. And that is why he has so much success selling directly to his customers. However, with VeeFriends, he created this partnership with Toys R Us. And I think that's very important to say. But just a little background about VeeFriends. I know I brushed over it in the intro, but just in case, I'm going to give you a high-level overview of everything with that project. He hand drew these characters. This is basically going to be his legacy project. Gary Vee made a lot of money and his name basically being the social media guy, pioneering videos and everything with his wine company, a family business. He was one of those early people that was on YouTube creating content when everyone thought it was crazy. Then, of course, when Facebook and all the other social media platforms came out, that is how he became famous, being known as the social media guy, just a prolific content creator. However, going forward, he wanted to leave a legacy. He has built a media empire, marketing, working with the biggest companies in the world. But once Web 3 started, he saw the opportunity to create some characters that he could leave behind for the next generation to teach some morals, some values, which also ties into that 12 and a half book. Those are some lessons that he learned along the way that he would love to pass on to the next generation. Well, the first version, V1, launched last year in the peak of everything, all the craziness of NFTs. And those were the hand-drawn doodles that he created himself. V2 launched earlier this year, including physical cards. He even did a clothing collaboration with Kim Shui, and that was called the Driven Dragons, which was based on one of the characters, the Driven Dragons. In addition to that, he's have animated videos and so much more. So now when we come into this space, partnering with Toys R Us to have vinyl and plush toys, this is very interesting what is going on here. And it's just really taking this IP, these characters that he's creating, and taking things to the next level. First of all, there's going to be 10 different characters that he selected from the set of VeeFriends, which is going to be the Practical Peacock, the Willful Wizard, the Genuine Giraffe, the Adventurous Astronaut, the Gratitude Gorilla, the Patient Panda, Empathy Elephant, Common Sense Cow, Heart Trooper, and Be the Bigger Person. So those are all the characters that he's going to create these plush toys with, or the vinyl toys, and they're going to be featured in Toys R Us. But here's the interesting thing. The price point for it is between $9.99 and $29.99. Pre-order started on October 4th. The official launch will be on October 17th. And each of these toys will come with a QR code that can unlock short films and the characters' songs. And I think this is just very interesting. This is just a cool thing, just bridging all sorts of media forms. And as a big kid myself, I absolutely love these toys, and just looking at them, I thought it was just very cool what he's doing. But just overall, just looking at this grand thing that he is really envisioning and just rolling everything out and really building his legacy. Just as he said, he has I believe it is a 40-year plan for this, if I'm not mistaken, his life's work, and he's planning to just ride off into the sunset with these VeeFriends and continuing to build and continuing to add value to them and build out this IP as long as he's here. Although this is not the first NFT project to have some vinyl toys, I think this is really a big deal how he's doing this out. Because, for example, the first vinyl toys that I saw, which there probably were some before, but the first one that I actually purchased the NFT for and was aware of was the Crypto Moon Boys over on Wax when they launched the Bitcoin Kids. And that was randomly selected. If you had a pet in the artwork, well, then you could redeem it for these vinyl toys, the physical toys that you can get. Then over on Wax also, they had a Funko launch, and if you're familiar with the Funko Pops, those are those vinyl toys with the big heads, big eyes, and they have a lot of pop culture references. Well, Funko has a partnership where they launch a lot of NFTs over on Wax, and some of them are one of one. Whichever you get the NFT, you also get a Funko. Or it could be like the rarer ones where some of them. So Funko has been doing that over there. That's something that happens a lot over on Wax. Or if you're familiar with the company NFA, Non-Fungible Art, they do different things with vinyl toys because the founder has his background in toys. And as far as even partnering with the Homies, which was a popular toy on the West Coast back in the day, now they're the Crypto Homies and they're in this whole Web3 space. They're also doing vinyl toys over there. But going back to this with VeeFriends, this is very impressive to me in the fact that this is a brand new intellectual property, IP, and Gary Vee is building this thing out, and I think is a unique partnership. Why he is partnering with Toys R Us rather than, launching everything himself, because as I said, he is a marketing genius. He can sell books, so he can definitely sell some toys. So why wouldn't he go his own direct-to-consumer marketing channel? I think it is because he's building that bridge, that partnership with this company, and there's two reasons why this is mutually beneficial for both parties. Gary Vee has a corporate marketing network. So his main company, Vayner Media, works with all sorts of Fortune 500 companies, Budweiser and you name it. I'm not even going to go down the list. Just countless other major companies that he has worked with, partnered with to do social media things. And he's also bringing them into Web3 through his company VaynerX, Vayner NFT, which is now Vayner 3, and all his other subsidiaries. But Toys R Us is very unique. As I said in the beginning, that they have gone out of business. They were bankrupt, and we thought that was the last we've seen of Toys R Us. Now they have come back. There's a resurgence, and the physical stores are in partnership with Macy's. And how they're working this thing out is they're doing these mini stores within Macy's, and they're doing things online. So it's just very cool to see that he chose to partner with them to have these in these stores rather than doing direct to consumer. And I think he's in a unique position to do this because, as I said, his company has worked with a lot of these big companies anyways, doing different marketing strategies for them. So having these toys featured in the store, it's almost like both are benefiting in the sense that Toys R Us is trying to stay relevant for this new generation, of course, have some headline-worthy material, and this definitely does that for them. And of course, as I said, his main business is corporate marketing, so this is really one hand washing the other. VeeFriends and the trajectory that is on, it really reminds me of Pokemon. And I know I'm getting all nostalgic. I played this old song. Now I'm talking about 90s things. But let's go all the way back to 96 when Pokemon launched. And there's so many lines of revenue and so many things that Pokemon does. It's all a blur to even remember, well, where did Pokemon start? And I literally had to go and do the research because I could not remember which one came first. I just know as a kid, I was in everything. And initially, it started off as a Game Boy game in February of 1996. Then by October of 1996, it was also a card game, the physical card games, which I forgot to mention, VeeFriends also has physical cards. But going back to Pokemon, in April of 1997, that's when they started the TV show. In July of 1998, that's when they had their first movie. And of course, they just continue to expand through the years and the decades. They sort of died down. However, in 2016, that's when Pokemon Go, that mobile app, came out, and it just re-sparked all the interest in the world for Pokemon. This thing was absolutely ridiculous. People all over the world were stopping to catch Pokemon at random spots, running through traffic, and it was a VR or I should say an AR, which is augmented reality, not virtual reality. And the difference between VR and AR is VR is what we would see with these MetaQuest goggles, and you're popping it on, you're immersing yourself into the 3D world, basically as we know it now in Web3, the metaverse. But AR is basically an overlay into the real world. So in the case of Pokemon Go, you'd use your regular camera and this app, and you would see Pokemon through your phone. So basically it's like a Snapchat filter or any other filter that you might be used to. But with this, you'd see the Pokemon, you're able to catch them, you could track them down in the real world and so forth. And this was a worldwide phenomenon. Just broke all sorts of records, just absolutely just madness. Even here in Jamaica, I remember seeing people in the middle of the road, dead center in town, traffic, everything, and they're trying to catch Pokemon. It was absolutely ridiculous. So from 2016 on, it really has just sparked another generation of Pokemon fans. And as I said, all those different things, all those properties, and it's even hard to keep track of what came first, but after doing the research and everything, it's like, oh yeah, those were the good old days. So that's really what I'm seeing, what's going on here with VeeFriends. A lot of people might be very critical of this and saying, okay, yeah, it's an NFT project, whatever it is, and, dismissing it. But seeing that now we're going into physical things, we're going into clothing, we're going into animations and songs and all sorts of media, it is very reminiscent to me of the rise of Pokemon. And when Gary says this is like a 40-year project, a lot of people might just kind of laugh at and brush it off as saying that is just marketing talk, anything to get a sale, but I truly believe it. If you listen to any of his things, you listen to any of his speeches about people, relationships, life, like this is really important to him. So I was always bullish on Gary and everything that he's doing as a person. And of course, in his companies, VaynerMedia, VaynerX, Vayner3, NFT, all that stuff has just really impressed me. But more so than ever, I am absolutely bullish on the VeeFriends. I've always saw that as, okay, well, if Gary's the one who's heading this thing, I have faith in Gary, therefore the VeeFriends should take off. But seeing the direction in which he's going and how quick he's actually moving to do it is just impressive to me. And even in Web3, when people are saying, yeah, like nothing's going on and he's taking forever to roll the stuff out and they're criticizing it. But looking at this whole thing and stepping back, and we're not just looking at NFT projects. We're actually looking at building a business, rolling out an IP that did not exist a couple years ago. This was just in his head, some characters that he rolled out, and already it's in Toys R Us. It is absolutely impressive at the pace of which this is going. So to say all of that, I think this is going to be something that I can really see sticking around and being something that we'll be talking about for the next 10, 15 years. And I can't wait for the next piece of big news to come out of them because they're just doing some great things. And as this develops, I'll be sure to report it and share exactly what's going on and give my input and thoughts. And has everything gone absolutely perfect? No, that's business. Things go wrong. So some people might say some of his drops had some hiccups or whatever, but that is what it is. That is expected in this whole space. But as someone who has no horses in this race, I do not own any VeeFriends, V1, V2. I'm just a fan on the outside looking in, admiring his hard work, what he's doing as a marketer, as a content creator, and as someone who is driven on a mission, trying to leave something for the next generation. I just think it is very impressive what he's doing. And regardless if I have any investment into it, I can just recognize that he's doing something very interesting, and I just can't wait to see what comes next. And this Toys R Us thing is big news. But speaking of news, if you would love to keep up on the latest things that I might not even do an episode on, because some of these stories I just don't have enough content to necessarily do a full episode out of. It just might be a nice little headline or a quick summary. I do have a newsletter that I put out weekly. It's called Nifty Business Week, and you can sign up for that absolutely free at niftybusinessweek.com. I cover some stories that I might not do an episode on, as I said, give some insights, some updates, and just keep you up to date with everything that's going on. But as usual, I just want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this and supporting the show as we're learning and building Web3 together. So until next time, later. The Nifty Business Show is not investment advice. It provides insights and information within the space. As with anything, please do your own research before making a decision whether you're making an investment or a purchase.